All right, I just want to introduce a few main points. We started verses 1 and 2 by saying that it was the beginning of a new age. The age of chaos, the age of disorder, the age of total darkness was now over. It had ended. Satan had been cast out of heaven, created all kinds of chaos. Earth basically became void. It had become something that, what the Bible calls, what does it say about the earth? It was formless and void. God recreated the earth. Bara. B-A-R-A. Recreated the earth and formed it so that there was order. Order comes from God. Chaos comes from Satan. The second major point is that this formless and void is known as tohu and bohu, and that these words basically tell of the world's condition before God renovated it. It was tohu and bohu. Now, then we stepped into day one. And again, what we see is God's creative work. He created light and darkness. This is different than his creation of the sun and the moon, in that it is again bara. It is not, it's more of an idea of light overcoming darkness. Light being, that's okay. Light overcoming darkness. But he called the light day and the night darkness. The darkness was night. All right? So the light was essentially a manifestation from God. There still wasn't a sun. He's got to create that yet. And we'll see when we get there that the word used for made there is different than what he uses early on, where it's bara.
So there was darkness over there.
That's right.
So you're saying the sun, it was dark and void, or
It was formless and void. That's the old
You're
age.
saying that the sun didn't exist yet?
Nope.
Even though maybe
No,
there was a layer over it, couldn't come
he
penetrate?
created light. He gave the earth light without the sun. He was the light. And darkness. But he also left darkness because who was still here on this earth?
Satan.
Satan.
Oh, we also need to sleep.
Yep. Yeah, that too. Some of us need more than others.
But if so the term in verse 3 there, when he said let there be light,
Yep.
you're saying that was a moment of creation.
Yes.
Asa
Yep.
versus bara.
No. In 3, it's bara. It's bara. When he makes the sun, it's asa, which is later on down in verse whatever. And asa is basically a manifestation. You're able to see it. Okay, but there's nobody here yet to see it. But it's actually there to be observed.
You said it last week as cause it to happen.
Yep, he causes it to
And
happen.
Bara was he purposely
Created.
it,
Right.
and then Asa was
But
Yep.
if there's no
Yep. Yep.
if there's no light,
Yep.
then how would Satan do anything? If there's absolutely no light.
He gets around into darkness pretty
Yeah,
good.
he's the master. He is the prince of the
How
power of
would
the
he see
air.
anything to do anything?
Darkness is what he likes.
Oh, that's right.
That's where
Darkness is what he likes.
Yeah.
All right?
So right now we have God is the light and the darkness is the devil.
That's right. Okay, so we talked about day 1. Then we spoke about day 2, where he made this firmament, rakia, which is an expanse or a visible arch in the sky, which is referred to in the Hebrew as the heavens, okay? And that he made the waters. And remember what we said about the waters. What did we say about the waters? What is the word and why is it important? It's okay, part of it is juice, which is sustenance. Part of it is semen, which is production. Yep. The word actually, the word ma'im is literally water, but when it is used figuratively, can either mean juice, and by euphemism, can be used for urine or semen, which means there's waste, there's sustenance, and there's life. Yep, on this earth. Yeah, well, no,
The
on
waters is.
the water is part of the creation. Okay, so all those elements of the word water exist. Okay?
Water does a lot of things.
Yep. Yep. So now we're on to day 3. We're on to day 3. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wasn't, if you did this last week, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Back to the water thing,
Yeah.
the first, so if it says, so the evening and the morning were the first day.
Yep.
Right, verse 5.
Yep.
So evening and morning are based on,
Light and
relationship
darkness.
of sun and moon, right?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
We'll
Right,
get
but
there.
how do they call it the evening and the morning when there's
God
no
created
sun and
evening
moon
and
to?
He created it. He made he bara light and darkness, and he called it a day.
You can call it anything you want.
Right. He called it, and that's the other thing I brought up last week. He didn't call it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He called it a day. Day 1. That's what he called it.
The first day.
So,
Yep, the first day.
so he let light come into being, but the dark was already here.
Already there. Yep. All right, now we're on to day 3.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I love questions. It's all
You were
good.
here.
I know.
For those of us who aren't.
I just wanna back up, a little bit.
Yep.
When the devil was placed on the earth, there was a lot of chaos,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's when God destroyed it, or
Mhm.
destroyed the chaos,
The chaos.
right?
He
And then it
re-
became
he
void and dark.
renovated.
You renovated, then it
Yeah.
went void and dark after he destroyed the chaos,
Mhm.
correct?
Yep,
But
formless and void.
so when the devil was there and the chaos was happening, there had to be light for people to live, or to dinosaur, whatever was there at the time. There had to be a sun, right?
I could say
Why? God
No.
can do whatever he
How
wants.
do you
Yeah.
know he didn't create it back then? And now he's just saying when I destroyed the chaos and the earth became void and dark. Now I'm renovating it, so I'm going to let that sun penetrate back down to the earth.
There's no
Mhm.
sun
He
yet.
was measured, I think the sun.
Yeah, there's no sun yet. We gotta get there.
Okay.
Okay, we have to remember that when you're talking about chaos, right, which is Satan is the author of. He's the author of confusion. He's the father of lies. Everything about this earth. And don't forget, he had 1/3 of his angels
Right.
with him.
Correct.
All right, so it wasn't just him. He had all his legions with him,
Yeah.
and they were following him. Whether there be earth here or people here or not, or dinosaurs or whatever you want to call it, there was chaos. It was unavoidable because that's who he is. We live in the, what century are we in? 20-something century? 21, 22, whatever it is. And look at the chaos we have on this earth right now with supposedly educated men. Right? Look at the chaos we have with supposedly well-educated, highly intelligent, highly evolved human beings.
Nothing new under the sun.
This is scary. It really is. If you think about the chaos that's here right now, just think about what it was like, whether there had been life there or not, when Satan and his minions were running the show.
When you think about it, Alaska doesn't get light for like 6 months.
That's a fact.
So it's not like light is necessary.
That's
for-
exactly right.
We got critters in caves living.
Okay, Louise has a commentary of the situation.
So if the devil was darkness, why couldn't God be the light?
Well, that's what he was. That's what he provided the light. That was the first day. He was the light.
So there was no sun, it was just God was.
That's right. And that comes about later on. I don't know if we'll get to it today. Maybe we will. You never know.
Okay.
All right.
That circles right back to Revelation, he's going to be again.
Exactly. So it begins as it ends. You got it. You hit the nail on the head. And when that's what I wanted you to draw out of you. Right? In the end, he is our light. In the beginning, he was the light. The light. Go ahead.
And when I'm thinking, as Satan is cast away from God out of heaven with his third, he's cast away from the light.
Mhm.
That light, he's separated.
That's right.
And that's why he can survive in darkness, because he's separated from God.
Yep. He's the father of darkness. That's what he is. All right. We need someone to read verses 9 through 14. Vicky, or 9 through 13.
Okay.
Please read it, Vicky.
And God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land, that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds. And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good.
Oh,
And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day.
Amen. All right. So, is it Wednesday? No, it's the third day. He called it what? A third day. Now, up to this point, God had been working on things that basically we would think naturally are from the heavenlies. It's high. Now he's starting to put his hands into the work of the earth. Right? And what he's got to do is design it in a way so that life can be sustained. Because he knows he's going to create mankind. Because he gets around to that too. But he needs to form something on this earth that can sustain mankind. He also knew that there would be a sin in mankind. God could have very easily provided all the food that mankind would need on his own, just as he could do right now for every one of us. But because of the forthcoming sin, he had to produce things that would almost force man to have to labor in order to produce fruit, in order to produce, to survive, right? So, what he does now, the way I termed it, is that he descends to the lower portion, which is the earth, which will be designed to sustain life for that which is yet to be created, whether it be animal, the fishermaters, or the flying birds, or
human beings,
or humankind. Okay? Now, it is not only created for them to be able to live there, but also to provide for their ability to survive and to be maintained. The earth was prepared as a place of habitation for man by gathering all the earthly waters together and making them, and by also creating dry land. It should be noted that instead of the confusion that was when earth and water were mixed into one great mass, there's now a separation and order to things, right? There's a place where man can walk and talk and, stand on dry ground. And there's a place for the fish of the seas. There's a place for man to recreate in water. There's a place, there's complete separation, yet that separation brings about order that just wasn't there previously in the previous age because it was a mess. It was just confusion. There was nothing that could be used to sustain life.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now that we're into the firmament, another thought about the water thing and the questions, right?
Yep.
Is it possible? Okay, so it says, Satan, you serpent, right?
Yep.
Called him the serpent. I have read that some of the angels had certain serpentine aspects to them. Is it possible that the previous chaos was water, underwater, and that's why it wasn't the sun?
I suppose it's possible, but when we get to the word serpent, when we're introduced to him,
It's not that.
you're going to see a completely different word. All right? And you'll see why he's described as a serpent as well. Who's here for Isaiah? We studied the word Leviathan, right? And Leviathan is essentially a serpent that is, it's creepy and it's crawly, and it describes governments that are corrupt. That's what Leviathan is. Who corrupts? The serpent corrupts, right? So this description of a serpent is apt, even for the beginning of time. All right, but there's a little bit more to it when we'll get to it when we get there. Now, he called the waters the sea, which is the Hebrew word yam. And the dry lands he called the earth, which is called eretz. Next, what God does is place on the earth that which was needed to support man, right? So what does man need to survive? What's the first thing he needs?
Air.
Water and food,
Water and vegetables.
and of course air. Okay? He supplied water and he supplied plants, right? And in obedience to God's command, provision was made. And that's the plants. They became fruitful, right? They became fruitful in obedience to God's command. And provision was also provided for the future because of this fruitfulness of God's creation, which with each seed bearing after its own kind. Think about the labor that we have to put into growing a garden, Kim. Right? Trying to grow a couple tomato plants.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right? But think how easy it is since sin came about that weeds grow everywhere after their own kind. Everywhere. But yet, if you plant a tomato plant 1 year, it's going to take, I'm not a farmer, but do you have to plant another one to get new tomatoes, or do you have to basically sustain it?
They sometimes replant themselves.
Yeah.
But the sometimes. But
Replant.
okay, but the thing of it is that you need to do labor
Absolutely.
in order for that thing to be fruitful.
Yes.
In the beginning, it wasn't that way. Before sin, they replenished themselves after their own kind.
Wow.
All right? Now listen. Another thing this foretells is what God's going to tell mankind to do. Be fruitful and multiply. So all of God's creation is to be fruitful. Here's the thing. We live in a world now where they want to basically decapitate rising populations. That's not part of God's plan. Want to decapitate it.
I heard an interesting figure that the number of people in the world today is equal to the number of people that have ever existed. From the beginning till now,
Yep.
the number of people in the world today is the same
Yep.
number.
Yep.
That's pretty interesting
Yep.
fact.
Yep.
Yeah.
If people weren't evil and greedy, there'd be no problem at all.
Exactly.
Plenty of resources.
Yep.
It's just you got hoarders.
Yep. I mean, you drive across parts of the world, and it's just wasteland. It's just barren wasteland. Still, despite the numbers of people. All right.
Brian?
Yeah.
Are we going to hit on the topic of, are these days a day, 24-hour day?
Yeah. We did that sort of kind of.
And which one did you say it was?
Well, yeah. These days are 24-hour days, in my view.
Well, let me ask you. So
Okay.
So it takes you got to create oxygen, right, for plants.
Yep.
So if in 24 hours, creating the earth in 24 hours would have created enough oxygen for more things to use that oxygen and live, and then.
God did it. Yep. It's the ages before that are longer, right? Because you're talking about a whole age. And the key to that, Mike, is the word itself, yam, is a day.
Right.
It is a literal 24-hour period. All right? Now,
Oh, yeah.
But what's the word that means a segment of time? What's that word? There's a word that just means a portion of time, whether it's 5 minutes or a billion years.
well, it would be an age.
Soon.
There's a word for that, yeah.
And I don't know what it is
Okay.
off the top of my
Never
skull.
mind.
Might be something, eon.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
it. That's
Right.
it.
Have you discussed where, God separated the waters from the waters yet?
That was right in the beginning.
Firmament, yeah.
Yeah, the firmament.
Was that
Yep.
implied that there were waters above?
Yep. Yep.
Everything
Yep.
is covered.
Waters above that came from below.
I wonder why, maybe that's why the concept that man has never fully, understood the sea.
Hmm.
Like, he's been able to go out, into outer
Space,
space
yeah.
and all these other things, but the sea itself still has mystery to
Yep.
man.
Yep.
And it could be all wrapped up in that.
Yep, it's very interesting because it's, well, let from, so as not to just scuff it off, let's go back. All right? On day one, right? On day, what day was it? On day 2, right? It basically, did somebody say Sunday?
No, I said second.
Oh,
Sorry, no.
all
I'm
right.
now referring to my days as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, there you go. All right, so, because this is day 1, by the way, or I'm sorry, we view it as day 7, but in my view, this is day 1. Saturday is day 7. If
That's
you,
right.
if you want to get down to the
Yeah.
root of the matter.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
That's the Hebrew calendar that
Yep,
starts on
yep,
Sunday, right?
yep. Now, listen. If we look at this word for firmament, right? It's an expanse. And what it says, look at what the words say in verses 6 through 8. And I know this is an aside, but I think it's worth doing it. Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters. Right? Or, okay, same thing. In betwixt. All right? And let it separate the waters from the waters. Now, this is not land. God made the expanse and separated the waters. Good morning. So he took the waters, right?
Some of the waters.
Some of the waters, not all of the waters, because some were left here to do what he's doing right now on day 3. And what he does is he basically gathers the waters. I'm sorry, where are we back here? The waters which were below the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse.
So we kind of created a.
He
an
separated
arch in
them.
the sky, right?
It's like a
Correct.
space.
So what does that tell us? That fills the skies with water.
Clouds.
Clouds.
Yes.
It fills the skies with what we're going to get this afternoon.
Right.
It's the start of what we know is precipitation. But here's the odd thing. It did not rain on this earth until Noah's flood. The earth was dry for hundreds of years.
It was this, there was a mist.
There was a mist
Yeah.
and a dew,
That's
which
what
we'll
they
get
want
into
to
a little bit
Now,
later.
when he divided the waters,
Yep,
he took some of the waters and put them up there in the sky
Yep.
and was clouds. And in doing so, in taking those waters up, he left some waters on the earth.
yep,
But in doing so, the earth, the ground, the land
yep, was able to,
became
yep,
available and visible
yep,
Right.
yep,
because
exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. So now, does that help you at all, Mike?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Now, back to day 3. It's good to take a step back. It's good when we have questions because we go through this thing. It's good to answer the questions as they pop up because I don't want to have confusion. And this is not corn fusion. Corn fusion is something you get because you want to be confused. That's corn fusion. Like I want to be confused, right? There's something calling me to be confused. That's corn fusion. It's like it's sin, right? It's sin. That's the bottom line. It's like, okay, I can't make up my mind if I'm a boy or a girl. That's corn fusion. All right?
He's got quite a few.
I've got a few of them.
Yeah, I think if you don't hash it out now in these early ones,
Right.
you're gonna be coming back.
Exactly. All right, so we have the sea now and we have the dry lands. Here's the thing. Vegetation is part of the ordered universe of the one and only true God. Why? To sustain mankind. Right? We eat it. We need it to eat. Now, it also should be noted that while many pagans believed the gods of the deep who were to be reckoned with, what this account shows us is that our God controls the boundaries of the seas, and it's a clear provider that all that man requires to survive is given to us by God. Everything that we need to survive is given to us by God. God saw that he had done it, and guess what he said?
good.
This is pretty good.
I think vegetarians look at this and go,
Yeah, of course they do. And me, I'm a meat eater and I can speak like this. I love meat. I can't eat a meal without meat. I just can't. It's against my
Why even put a vegetable?
it's against my being.
Don't even
Meat.
use vegetables.
Meat
Oh,
is okay.
I like
So you
vegetables.
can't eat a lasagna with no meat in it?
No.
No, it's gotta have.
gotta have meat.
Ground beef in there. Or
Killing the
Meatballs.
fatted calf.
Like
Killing the
what about
fatted
pasta
calf
and
is a
sauce?
celebration,
No? No
boy.
good?
No.
Unless you have
Meat
meatballs.
sauce.
Gotta have meat.
Meat sauce.
It's gotta have meat.
How about bugs?
They gotta have meat too.
Around the corner.
Pasta.
Crickets.
You know, can I say something right
Like
quick?
mushrooms, they cut
This
them
is an
all
aside.
up, what they are.
The other night, my wife gave me some form of something, meatballs, and I thought I was eating bugs because I had never eaten a meatball that tasted like this in my life. What was it? It had some kind of hot schmutz in it.
They were ready made. I don't know. They were spicy Korean meatballs.
Spicy Korean.
Korean, so there was bugs.
And calf.
Cat.
Missing,
Dog.
missing pets.
Only because you had to have meat with your pasta.
Well, I don't know if that was me. That was me. Oh yeah, it was. Whoa! And I didn't have it once; I had it twice.
It must have been pretty good.
Because I had a hard time eating it the first time, so I left some behind. All right. So, what we see here then is that when he says it's good, which is the Hebrew word tov, it means it's good in the widest. Everything about it is good. So when we say, and it is, God said it was good, it can't be much better. In other words,
Perfect.
it was perfect. All right? For the purpose for which it was intended, it was perfect. Turn to Job chapter 38. This is good. This is good. We're making some. We're making some.
No, it's just, yeah, I can't hear him. I can't hear.
Job chapter 38,
Just before Psalm.
just before the Psalms.
Shut up, let's see.
38, what?
38, 8 through 11. Who's reading back there? Bev, are you there?
Yep.
Can you read?
Yeah.
I love it.
Will you read?
Will you please read for us?
It's 8:38. What?
38, 8 through 11.
8 through 11. Oh, Brian.
Yes. There's a lot of people named O'Brien, you know? I think they named it after me because a lot of people have said that to me. Oh, Brian.
Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb?
Oh, yes.
When I made the clouds its garment and wrapped it in thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and let its doors and bars in place, when I said, this far you may come and no further, there is where your proud waves halt.
Okay, can I share something with you? God set boundaries to the order. The first boundary he set was that of the sea to the land. Each has its boundary. One can't encroach upon the other. And we will see as God forms things in the book of Genesis, how he wanted nations to be sovereign because he himself is sovereign. So what we have going on in our nation right now is an affront to God. It is an affront. Are being encroached every day. Okay, now that might be a stretch, but right here in the beginning of time, we see that God set boundaries to the land and to the sea. It's part of his order. It can't be forgotten. And I want you to remember that. Because when people come up to you and say, well, our God is a loving God and he wants people to go where they need to go to get this and get that and get this and get that, God sets order. He is the only one who can marry mercy and justice. The only one. He sets the rules. And then what corrupt governments do are distort the rules. Oftentimes in the name of God. By creating a God in their own image. God is the creator, not man.
That's right.
And we need to remember that as a people.
That's right.
When we go and vote, we need to remember that. All right? Not that any of them care about order and what's right. But I think there is some that do. And those are the people we have to look for and vote for. All right. Now turn to Psalm chapter 65.
Just after Job.
That's right after Job, right before Proverbs.
65.
65, verses 9 through 13. Alicia, can you read?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put it that way. Will you please read?
You visit the earth and cause it to overflow. You greatly enrich it. The streams of God is full of water. You prepare their grain, for thus you prepare the earth. You water its furrow abundantly. You settle its ridges. You soften it with showers. You bless its growth. You have crowned the year with your bounty, and your paths drip with fatness. The pastures of the wilderness drip, and the hills gird themselves with rejoicing. The meadows are clothed with flax, and the valleys are covered with grain. They shout for joy. Yes, they sing.
I don't know how many folks here have ever really hiked or gone out in the woods and observed, and gone to the oceans and observed. And fortunately, in my life, I've been able to do a lot of that with my family and my wife. And since I've become a believer, observing what God has created, it is beautiful.
It's amazing.
It's amazingly beautiful. And, you know, now all of a sudden I sound like a tree hugger. And I'm hardly that. But guess what? This earth deserves man's respect because God created it. You know, I don't think it deserves so much respect that we got to create solar panels or windmills to ruin basically the creation, the beauty of it. I mean, you drive through New England now, and there are basically solar farms and wind farms all over the place. And many people who love birds have taken pictures of all the dead birds from the things going around there, the windmills. I mean, and then when you consider what happens with these solar panels after they lose their life after 15 to 20 years, that they have to be buried, and all these minerals turn to poison, and it's already happening. The earth is becoming corrupted.
Your EV batteries.
Right, by EV batteries and solar panels. It's just, we think we're doing something good when in essence we're doing something that's wrong.
Really harmful.
Yep, go ahead.
You were talking about God's creation and how awesome it is.
Yep.
I mean, you can walk through the woods, and I've done it many times. I look around, I'm like, where did you come up with all this? This is like amazing.
Yep.
But I've done a little hiking back in the day when I was able.
Yep.
I probably couldn't do it today because of my knee, but I did. I got 150 miles on the long trail going north.
Yep.
And I got some solo runs. And one time I was by myself hiking along, and I had to stop and listen because I thought I heard like symphony orchestra music. And this was serious. This was like, what is this? And there was a trail caretaker's cabin probably about 2 miles ahead of me.
Yep.
So I said, somebody's blasting a stereo here with orchestra music. I talked to the caretaker. He goes, I ain't got no music up here. But you know what it was? It was a river.
Yeah.
And I heard it was like music. I'm like,
Yeah.
you gotta be kidding me.
Yep.
Nobody had any music, but this is in the wilderness
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yep.
But then again, you got the bears, and they make you paranoid.
That's true.
One of the best side events to see God's creation is Acadia National Park.
Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yep.
You could just stay up there and look forever.
Yep.
At how beautiful. I hope they don't start putting windmills up there, but it's just so beautiful, the scenery.
Do you know what they're putting up there right now? Every national park in America is becoming a resting spot for illegal immigrants.
Oh,
They're sending them to every national park.
No way.
Yep.
Oh,
That would make sense. The government owns it, they can afford to pay
Yep.
for the people.
Oh.
Yep. I don't know if they're sending them to Acadia right now because it ain't the best time of year
Yeah.
to be there, but
Kinda cold.
yep. All right. Back to day 4. Back to day 4. Actually, just starting day 4. Young Jim,
Yes.
Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 through 19.
Okay. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. Then God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and a lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. God said, set them in the firmament of the heavens to give them light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the night light from the darkness. And God saw it was good. How far do you want me to go?
19.
Oh, okay. So the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
Okay. Here's the interesting thing. We know that God had bara, light and darkness, right in the beginning, day one. Right? Day one. But that light, bara, is, listen, this is important. It was a light, a manifestation of light. Right? It wasn't there to be observed. It was the goodness of God, the awesomeness of God that was the light. He is the light. Just like it says in Revelation, when the sun and the moon pass away, he will be our light. He was the light on day one. Day 4, he asa, the sun. Something that is observable. Man, you can see it. It's now there as a fixture in the sky. At night, we have the moon, which is a fixture in the sky. Something we can see. He made it. It's a different concept. Bara and asa.
I've got them confused.
Bara is a creation
Creation from nothing.
from nothingness.
Okay, all right. I got
Right?
that. Okay. But, and then
And asa is something that's observable.
Makes it happen.
It may, right.
Makes
He
it
ma- He
manifest.
speaks it into existence and it exists.
Okay, got it.
And it's observable.
I had them backwards in my head.
All right? Now, that's why we cannot confuse what happens in day 1 with what happens in day 4. Can't confuse it. God will always be the light. Do you see the sun out there today?
No,
God is still our light.
that's right.
God is still our light, right? But I'm telling you something. The day will come, and we studied this in Revelation, where that light's going to go away. The sun will go away. It won't exist. And then God will become, again, our light. All right? Bara. Exactly. Now, so day 4 includes the creation of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Go, like I just explained, back in verse 3, God created light, right? There it appears he basically did it from chaos because there was no light. He was the light. He created it from chaos. Here, he puts the light in order. He puts the light in order to separate that which is day and that which is night. You don't have to be a spiritual believer to observe that it's light outside right now. It's the daylight hours. All right? He separates day from night. He separates season from season and year from year. And the 2 great lights that are mentioned are undoubtedly the sun and the moon, which are created to rule. It says they rule. The Hebrew word is memshala, which actually means to govern the day and the night. How do they govern? Think a little bit here. How does the sun govern the day?
It rises in the morning and it sets at night.
Okay.
It determines when we're gonna sleep, when we're gonna work.
Boom. Yep. It governs the day,
Hey, Brian,
and the moon governs the night. Go ahead.
getting back to the first God was the light, and that was created the sun. You know, if you think about it, any master that creates a business, right, or any important entity,
Yep.
at first they create it and they watch over it, and then they step back and they hire managers and other people
Yep.
to make it work. Because you know that's how you do it. Then you watch it progress.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly right.
So, but he's the eternal light.
Yep.
And the sun is just a temporal.
Temporary light. That's exactly right. He is the light forever.
Right.
All right. So it also needs to be noted here that the terms day and night, seasons and years are also meaningless without the existence of the sun and the rotation of the planets. God set all this in order. These too are also under the governing hand of God. He set it in order. Otherwise, there'd be pure. Scientists are still, they can't figure out how the earth, when you come right down to it, the Big Bang theory that they have propagated for years and years and years and years might be the way God did it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I believe this. The world was filled with chaos. My great uncle is not a fish or an ape
Or an amoeba.
or an amoeba. And there are times when, of course, we do act like them, but we don't. It's very, very odd to me that they say that we have evolved from some point where men could hardly walk and that's all they did was hunt. You think about evolution for a moment and what they believe about that, and you look at the state of our society right now, it's pretty sad.
It's confusion.
It is. You are exactly right. It is.
It's just
It is.
confusion.
It is confusion.
And without order.
No order. Right. It's chaos.
So it's not really God, because God, from what you just taught us, and
Yep.
what we see in the Word, God has an order to him.
Yep.
He's orderly.
Yep. Yep.
So if you're not orderly, get with it.
Yeah. I mean,
This is the no disorderly conduct zone.
We came from like amoebas or something else, right? Why would that keep happening?
you know,
Why wouldn't we keep changing, and why could if things keep turning into people?
well, can I just
Good point she has.
right? Why? But let me tell you why I can't really answer that. But look at what mankind's doing in terms of the advancement of mankind. He's building robots, AI, all these different artificial forms of intelligent life that they believe will replace the one who created us all. I heard a scientist say yesterday on War Room, not on War Room, but they videoed him, and Joe Allen was on, the guy who's employed by War Room to talk about this. And this scientist said, basically, that we will create such a great AI there will no longer be a need for some formless God.